those Democrats.
This hour of the Alan Autry Show is sponsored by Sinlaw, the most realistic artificial grass in the Central Valley.
From NFL quarterback to Hollywood to the mayor's office, and now behind the mic at KXEX, this is the Alan Autry Show. No retreat.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
What the hell's going on out here? Everybody grabbing out there. Nobody. That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
So, 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable. Free at last! Free at last! Thank God Almighty! We are free.
You're listening to the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX.
And welcome to Alan Autry No Retreat, Big Wednesday. So happy to have you with us. Honored and humble as always that you would choose to tune in or log in, whatever it may be, for 1 hour with us. And I'm so honored to have two great gentlemen with me. You'll hear one of them. You won't hear the other one, but man, he's at work. Mr. Jeremy, Dr. J, pushing buttons, turning levers, keeping this show going. But also Guillermo Moreno, who you do see right now if you're online. You handsome sucker, you.
You know, it gets harder every day.
Huh?
Gets harder every day.
That's what
Joe the way it goes.
Remember what Joe Namath said? He says, I can't wait for tomorrow because I get better looking every day. That's not my saying. When you turn 70, that doesn't happen. And in fact, I'm starting to run that Jay Leno gray streak, that skunk thing down here in the front of me.
You run it?
Yeah. I got to get this thing. I got to get my Ronald Reagan color.
Hey, you still have a lot of hair.
Don't jinx. See, you went and jinxed it.
Well,
don't even. It's like mentioning a no-hitter in the 7th inning, man. You tell a guy in his 70s, you're keeping your hair. The next day you show up. And
hair's important, man.
It's don't tell Jerry Dyer that. Some guys, just look better bald. They have a head that was shaped to be bald.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, neither do I.
I put on one of those skull caps for Halloween one time.
Oh, you go with Jerry Dyer?
Ugly. No, that was when Jerry was growing those Larry Fine sides. He had it on the signs, totally bald there. But
I told you yesterday he looked like Mr. Burns from The Simpsons when he had that going on.
The best movie ever made. But
that was the best decision Jerry Dyer's ever made.
Don't you know when he finally made that move and did it? You think he did it himself? Or you think he went to a barber? Yeah, he probably did it himself.
He had to. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the big election last night. And Mr. Uniter, Joe Biden has spoken about what happened last night in Ohio when the abortion amendment to codify the right to abortion into the Constitution, or keep it in the Constitution of Ohio passed, I think 56-44 or something like that. And then Glenn Youngkin's bid to flip the state legislature in Virginia failed. I wouldn't call it a resounding, thudding fall when you have a one seat majority now the Democrats have in the House, in the Assembly, and in the Senate. The Republicans did have the majority there by a couple of seats. But you're talking about, Guillermo, a state that was so blue prior to Youngkin. I mean, it was rivaling California of who could be the wokest, bluest state in the union. And I think it's still pretty remarkable. My take is you have a state that's kind of waking up to common sense. What's your take? I mean, because Biden, you see Biden's comment? Mr.
What did he say? What did he say?
Last night, democracy won and MAGA lost.
Did he say that really?
Yes. It's right up there on the CNN. I just saw it right now on the news feed.
And you can look it up, Jack.
I mean, come on. You're supposed to be bringing people together, and you're still on this MAGA or demon people, half the country.
Listen, the only people he brings together are those that want to buy U.S. influence from other countries. No, that's the only people the Bidens are bringing together. But
I think he does. No, I think he brings people together to fight.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
He brings the Ukrainians and Russians together to fight. The Israelis and Palestinians come together to fight. Democrats and Republicans come together to fight.
True. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point.
Gays and straight come together to fight. I think he enjoys all the criticisms that Trump used to get. I think are embodied in this president.
Well, yeah, and I think Dan Bongino said it best. He goes, everything that the left lies about the right, they do themselves.
What they do.
It's what they do. If they're over there telling you that that Trump is over there gaining undue influence from other countries, they're doing that. If they're over there saying that their family's running a corrupt scheme, they're doing that. If they're selling out the United States to the Chinese, they're doing that. It's so yeah, it's
when does it step out of the category of theory and become so obvious that it's a fact? I mean,
I have Alan.
It really. I mean, it is obvious. Trump's a crook in his business dealings. No, Biden's a crook in his business dealings. Trump's kids are crooks in business dealings. No, Hunter Biden's a crook in business dealings.
Well, the sad thing is, the Bidens are standing there. They're like O.J. Simpson, right? Well, can't prove anything. you can't prove anything.
In fact, I'm going to go find the man who caught my wife. And you know what? I think he's playing golf. So I'm going to play every golf course after this trial in America until I find the true killer of my wife.
Oh yeah. But
I know he's around here on the 9th fairway somewhere. I'm going to get him.
Oh man!
All right. Well, give me your analysis.
It wasn't good last night. It was not good. Let's just be real.
Is it a precursor for a year from now? I mean, CNN,
yes.
The far left cannot stop crowing about this.
So this is what I want to tell every single Republican out there. What happened last night is not good, especially in this type of environment, in this economy. We should be beating the conservative party. The Republicans should be beating the Democrats. They should be routing them from now until 2028. The mere fact that didn't happen means one thing. Republicans are horrible at campaigning. We do not campaign. We don't know how to campaign. Republicans don't ballot harvest, and we talked about this yesterday. The Democrats ballot harvest, we try and campaign. We have this aura of, no, you guys need us. You need us. We don't need you. Republicans need to get their head out of there, you know what, and they got to get out there and they got to do a better job. Now, let me tell you this.
How much of the abortionist you have to play in this?
Oh, huge.
Communicating. You know, the
huge.
The polls say that most Americans, by a wide majority, would support a reasonable time period that you say, okay, you can't abort a child. 15 weeks to 19 weeks, something up there. Do you think that Republicans are not articulating that correctly? Because all the data seems to show that you're getting Republican women in the suburbs that would vote conservative, except that issue. They're saying, listen, I'm not going to support at the moment conception. I would support a common sense, basically what was in Roe versus Wade, but let the states decide it. And by the way, I think I'm going to let you answer this question. I'm going to go on and on, but yeah, I might go on. But this is working perfectly. I mean, take it out of a decision made by 9 Supreme Court justices and let the states decide. You know what happened in Ohio? I wish for the people of Ohio it went the other way. I wish they had, a more reasonable outcome there in terms of right to life.
Yeah.
But it was done the way it's supposed to be, and I'm okay. I'm okay. That's the state. You want that type of thing available to you, and that's the deal breaker between moving to Ohio and Texas. I want to go to Ohio. That's the diversity of choice in this thing. It's state. You have a right to create your own moral system, if you will, in each state. That's the beauty of having 50 states, each one of them make that decision.
I don't think it's a state's issue. And let me tell you why. Because our Constitution guarantees life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That is a constitutional guarantee. Everything that's not in the Constitution, one of those, expressly stated, those powers lie to the states in the 10th Amendment. So life, just stop right there. Life. That means, at the moment of conception, they have constitutional principles, which means that is not left up to the states. That's me giving my personal constitutional analysis.
Who should it be left up to?
And it should be left, and it sounds horrible, and I know women are just going to go up in arms. It should be left to the Supreme Court. It should be left to to the three branches of government, and if
not to them, not to directly the people.
No.
Unelected officials.
No.
Unelected Supreme Court.
No. Listen, if you have...
Okay, follow this. The people elect the president. The president, elected by the people, puts up Supreme Court justices for nomination, confirmed or not confirmed by elected officials in the House and the Senate, or however that works. They have a committee that votes on it or whatever to be confirmed. How... Are you trying to say one is more depoliticized than the other?
I'm trying to say there's fundamental rights that were established at the very inception of our country.
And you would give that to the Supreme Court.
And life is one of those. And if there's a question about any of these fundamental rights, who does it go to? It goes to the Supreme Court. I mean, that's just the reality. If this went the Democrats' way, the Democrats would be making the same argument as I would be. They'd be, well, it's a right. They'll go right up to the Supreme Courts. So that's the reality. This is one of those things that should not be left to the states.
You feel more secure. So the Supreme Court is suddenly loaded up.
Yeah.
Because you don't feel that they have stepped out of their very defined role, interpreting the Constitution. Okay? The Supreme Court is not supposed to legislate. They're not supposed to declare.
Exactly.
They're supposed to declare whether something is constitutional or not.
Yep.
And it says any thing that is not codified in the Constitution to be under the purview of the federal government must go back to the states.
Yeah.
Where in the Constitution does it give the Supreme Court the right to rule on abortion?
Life. The fact that you as an individual, you have these inalienable rights. Life is one of them. You cannot go and kill someone and say, well, the state of California allows you to kill someone that's...
no.
But
let me ask you this. You're talking about a perfect world. You're talking about a purity of purpose, and that people are going on that bench are going to adhere to that and choose life, which they know they won't, because that we wouldn't have had Roe versus Wade turn out the way it did.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you'd rather put it in the hands of 9 people,
yes,
rather than the collective voice of the majority,
absolutely,
in the states. Well, we really differ on that, because I think if there was ever in an imperfect world, because I'm a conception guy, I believe once life starts, it's a life. But I also know, as Ronald Reagan felt that way. But there's also a compromise that you have to make, and Thomas Sowell said it. He said there's no such thing as wins or losses; it's trade-offs. And if you are looking down the barrel of a movement that wants to make abortion legal throughout the pregnancy, 9 months, and you have a few of these legislators saying even after, if it survives an abortion, the baby survives an abortion, just make the baby as comfortable as you can before you take its life outside the womb, because that was the mother's intent. And I just think certain issues you can bifurcate out of the chaos, the fog of politics. They talk about the fog of war. You get the fog of politics, so much coming out. You can take this out, this one aspect, take it to the people of Virginia, Iowa, Florida, New York, wherever, and say, we're going to listen to you on this. All the while, I agree with you that Constitution, that does include that, the right to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, where it's constitutional. But the Supreme Court didn't rule for that. They were, if you believe the way you believe, the Supreme Court was wrong. So if you have a state that feels so strongly that the Supreme Court was wrong, that agrees with you, that every individual has a right to life at the time of conception, why not give that state a chance to vote on that and make that the law of the land?
No, you're right. The Supreme Court did have it wrong, because it shouldn't have.
Said that's where it should have been.
It shouldn't have gone to the states. This is a fundamental right. The Supreme Court should have said our Constitution in our country does not allow you to abort a child.
Okay, let me ask you this: Who do you think interprets the Constitution more accurately?
The Supreme Court,
Who do you think? What appointees, conservative or liberal, do you feel more accurately conducts themselves in the spirit of just interpreting the Constitution. Conservatives like Clarence Thomas or Sotomayor or Ketanji Brown. Who do you think is more apt? Clarence Thomas, Judge Alito, his life, would more accurately perform the duties of a Supreme Court justice, which is to interpret the Constitution more accurately. Who do you think would? You think liberal judges? That shouldn't even be a question. Who do you think more accurately? Who do you think more accurately would?
I don't think a single individual.
No.
Individual.
So you're talking like Karine Jean-Pierre now. This is a simple question.
No.
This is a simple question.
Let me flip through my notes here.
Of course you're going to say the conservatives.
No, I'm not.
You don't think they're more apt to?
No, one person.
Cow, you believe Clarence Thomas is more inaccurate in his interpretation of what the Supreme Court should be doing than Sotomayor?
The beauty of
you believe
the way
Sotomayor believes you should take away your guns, take away your right. I mean, you believe that the Second Amendment? You think Clarence Thomas is just as likely to rule the same way on the Second Amendment, the First Amendment, as Clarence Thomas?
So the Constitution was set up so not one person, not just one person could have that much influence, which is why you have 9 right now on the Supreme Court, because we don't just leave it. We don't just leave it up to one person.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
What is more likely? Because I heard you talk about it on the show. More likely to guide the Supreme Court in the right direction to do what it's supposed to do and not do what the Constitution says, Supreme Court, you can't do, a majority conservative or a majority liberal? What is more likely? Not perfect, but who's more likely as a majority? The conservative majority or the liberal majority is more likely to identify and define what a Supreme Court is supposed to do and not do and stick with it?
Honestly, Alan, it depends on the individual, because
Did you hear 2 words, more likely? You're talking in a world of perfection as if I'm saying who is more likely to support the Second Amendment, a conservative or a liberal?
A conservative.
Oh, please. Why was that so hard for you to say?
Well, because you're basically saying I can't commit.
Likely.
I can't commit. You get some whack job on either side that goes in there. And
more likely. Yeah. You get a good conservative like Ronald Reagan, then you got Chris Matisse.
Yeah.
Okay, I get
That's
it.
What I'm saying. Let's just put this to rest.
You got David Valadao out there walking around saying I'm a Republican and he votes for impeachment. I get it. Key words are more likely.
I want a fair Supreme Court, and I want both views to be represented. I really do. And you've seen this.
I don't want crazy woke crazy that a man's not a man, a woman's not a woman, that you want criminals to have more rights than victims. I don't want that on the Supreme Court. I don't want,
I do.
I only take diversity so far.
I do.
I don't want, diversity does not mean, hey, welcome one, welcome all, United States.
I do.
You want to argue rapists because it's a diversity? We need more rapists to come in. It's more diverse. Hamas, murderers of innocent women and children. Come on. Why?
Alan,
because we need a more diverse view of things. All of you folks over there that are yelling from the river to the sea, atta boy, atta girl, because we need more diversity. No, certain things you do not need, and you should put your foot down and say, America. Well, then why don't you say, come on, Klan? Come on back, Ku Klux Klan.
So let's take a step back here. Let's take a step back here, Alan.
Commercial?
So listen. So
I've got you bound in a corner. I ain't letting you out either,
listen.
man.
We need those.
You're Mexican. You know what? It's like the Toro and the Matador. I've been playing with you now. I've got the sword out. I'm getting ready right at the right moment to come in.
No. Listen, we need those views represented on the Supreme Court. Let me tell you why. Because when they're not in the majority, then they get to offer dissenting opinions.
Those views. What are those views?
Just like you said, people that are anti-guns, people that are pro transitioning and pro. And I'm okay. Let me see. I don't agree with it, but I am okay with them chanting from the river to the sea. I'm okay with it because that's what makes America America. Their ability to do that. Now, if they were to say tomorrow we're going to go over there and we're going to make sure that every Jew, every Israeli is gone because we want them from the river to the sea. We want them out. Whatever it takes, tomorrow at noon, we're going to take them out. Now you're inciting violence. That's wrong. But just saying
you
from the
think
river
to the sea.
I do not think it's in this country. You have to take your emotions
So
away.
saying all of you black people and calling them boys, all of you boys need to go away. You knowing full well what that means.
Yes.
To the black culture.
Yes.
Well, yeah, you got the freedom to do that, but you got the freedom also to get your butt kicked.
And that person more than likely would.
I mean, you really do. You're basically saying in my face. Now, what I do agree with you on this, and I think this is a stark example because I do agree with you on this point because I'm a free speech guy. So I'm here. I'm a big free speech guy.
Well, you're telling me two things you don't want free speech with.
No, there is such a thing. You can't say fire in a movie theater. You can't go out and openly call for somebody to be shot and killed. That's an accessory to murder. Influencing, that's an accessory. Yeah. You can't sit in your living room with Joe the Hitman and say, boy, it'd be nice if I had this guy Adam Jones knocked off. And man, I got $50,000 to somebody who could do it. That tape gets back to the jury.
Yeah.
They're going to say, wait a minute.
Well,
they're going to use their common sense.
That's inciting. That's not freedom of speech.
That guy could say, no, I just had the guy over. Joe the Hitman is a family member from way back.
Yeah, it could be a family friend.
I was just saying, fantasizing in my mind.
And he just had $50,000 on the table.
But here's the point I was trying to make before I got off on Joe the Hitman.
Put him on the Supreme Court.
Nice
Put
guy.
him on the Supreme Court. He'll be fair. I trust him.
Hang out with Joe the plumber. I know where he's at, by the way.
I have no idea.
You can say that Trump incites a riot, incites an insurrection by saying go peacefully and patriotically, make your voices be heard. And you want to send him to jail for 200 years. Yet Rashida Tlaib is chanting from the river to the sea. They're taking those words, make your voices patriotically and peacefully be heard. Their extrapolation is go tear up the Capitol and hurt people. Okay, that's what the guy Jack, whatever his name is, prosecutor, has said was in his mind. That's wrong.
Yeah.
But when you have a movement saying from the river to the sea, followed by people getting killed and mugged and threats on Cornell University. By the way, what's happened to the Ivy League? You have Mr. Kessler killed in Thousand Oaks by, it looks to be like a Hamas sympathizer. And you've got a congresswoman saying, way to go. Keep doing it. What happened on October 7th is okay. And there's no way to tell me that that's not the extrapolation of what Rashida Tlaib is saying. She absolutely is saying that.
She's
so have a censor?
No, she's not saying that. No, she's not. She's saying something that she's saying it from the river to the sea in its context. That statement alone is not inciting violence. From the river to the sea, Palestine shall be free. That alone is not inciting violence. That alone did not result in Hamas going in there on October 7th. It's their deep found belief in their religion and their culture. It's not one statement that made them say, oh, from the river to the sea, that's it. We're going in there and we're going to commit these atrocities.
What does the word from the Black Panthers by any means necessary mean to you?
In conjunction with let's go
with the Black Panthers. No,
nothing.
The Black Panthers said it.
Nothing.
Even with the Black Panthers told you, the reform said it meant go kill people.
If they said there's a guy over there, he's white and he's by himself, and we're going to take him out right now after I finish speaking by any means necessary, that's unconstitutional. You're inciting violence by just saying we're going to take out whatever by any means necessary.
She's constitutional. I'm saying she had a right to be censored on her speech. Why do you think they don't let people get up in front of cameras and children and then just start using profanity?
Well,
mother F this, mother F that, all this stuff there. They censor them. There's a code of ethics.
On television?
No, on the House, on Congress. They have a code of ethics. They just got Fetterman on the dress code.
Well, yeah,
but certain way you conduct yourself.
They've gone in.
You get up and get out and start someone from the sea, from the river to the sea. And I tell you, I'm not saying that Rashida Tlaib is the brightest chrome on the bumper, but she's not that dumb. She knows
she's not,
exactly
no.
what she's saying. She knows exactly what they're saying. And by the way, from the river to the sea, we talked about this, I think, yesterday.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean move land. You can't move land from the river and push it out to the sea. They're talking about people. And when you're talking about moving people to the sea, that's not just an inference. That's a flat-out threat. That's a threat of violence. And the violence is happening day after day, which brings me to the subject of Ivy League. So we agree to disagree.
No. Can I make one more point?
Oh, you can, yeah.
This is where... This is...
Oh, I just got in trouble there, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. This is where... I'm going to censor you now. So this is where I think you really got to take my argument. After I finish saying this, you're going to be like, no, Guillermo, you're right. So you have to allow individuals to say, from the river to the sea, Palestine shall be free. Because you have a lot of kids right now in these Ivy Leagues, in high school, that are jumping on the bandwagon. They're bandwagon protesters. They have no idea what's going on. They have no idea what the heck it means. It rhymes to them, so they think it's cool. And guess what? It's got the word free in it. It's got the word freedom. These young people, and I saw this on Fox, they went around and they asked people, hey, from the river to the sea, you want Palestine to be free?
Why don't they say the last part? So Palestine, why don't they just say from the river to the sea?
I've heard it both.
No, I don't hear it. You never hear no chants. I've never heard that. They don't chant the rest of that.
Okay, fine. So
they're
from the river
about people, killing Jews.
Well, see,
by the Jew, track them down.
This is why you have to let them say that, so you can have these conversations with them and say, do you know what that means? That actually doesn't mean freedom. That there's no such thing for a freedom for the Jews, because what they'll do is they want them to be exterminated. And when people hear the entire phrase, from the river to the sea, Palestine shall be free, that doesn't mean that you have this group that is essentially being imprisoned. Oh, freedom is great, because the American psyche is freedom for all, because we enjoy freedom.
Well, how about the flip side of that?
That's not what that is.
The flip side for young people, because you're talking about influencing young people.
Yeah.
Why not the other way? Why not start the conversation as Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so teacher? Why did they censor Rashida Tlaib? I'm really so busy doing TikTok, dating and stuff. I went to an Ivy League school, so I know nothing really about the world. I've got a degree, a PhD from an Ivy League school, which means I'm as dumb can be. But I
went to a state school.
But I want to pretend that I'm smart, so I really didn't learn anything. Can you really help me find the truth there? Why was she censored? And that opens the door. Well, you live in New York, you go to NYU. Yeah, I go to NYU. How about you, young man? You go to Columbia? Yeah, I go to Columbia. Okay, that's in New York. There's a place called the Holocaust Museum. Ever been there? Just ask him that. No, I've been to Smithsonian. There's a thing called the Holocaust Museum. Why don't you go over there, spend some time in there, spend a couple of days, because it's big. Because it was a big thing that happened, a really big thing. A madman and an ideology tried to wipe a race and a faith off the face of the earth, and it could happen again. But you go, you make up your own mind after doing that. Then, by the way, go visit Israel. Take a chance. I'm going to go visit Palestine. Listen to those folks. And then in a week, let's talk about it. Why dismiss this? Because you're right. She has a right to say that. And thank goodness, we talk about getting canceled here for language. You have FCC rules that said certain words you can't say. And I'm thankful for that. There should be. I think we're living in the most profane time in American history. There's no shame. People talk filthy to each other. Men talk filthy to women. Women talk filthy to men, to other women. I was back in the day when you said the B word to a girl. That was really bad. Now they call each other that. I mean, it's just totally out of control. So I believe in having some consequences for your speech. I don't want you're having that in the grammar schools and the high schools. You can't expel a kid now in the state of California. They called it, I forget the name, but it came down an edict from the state that a kid can get up and call the teacher every name in the book in class. He can say, you do good mother, and say for as long as he wants to, and you cannot kick that kid out of school. Why? It's his free speech. That's why people are leaving education, teachers in droves. That's why I'm so big on common sense. We've got to have return to common sense. There's certain things that civil societies say are not acceptable, or there's going to be a consequence. Yeah, you have a right to say this, but you have a right to be skewered in front of Congress. A private company, you own this company. You have a right when I come out and start raising, say, hey, I'm pro-Hamas and I'm this and that. You have a right to say, you know what? That's gone a little too far. You're supporting young babies being decapitated, Alan? And I say, I support Hamas. They just did it. You have a right to say, well, you know what? It's not really the voice I want on here. I want diverse views, but that's a bridge too far.
Yeah.
Private companies have a right to do that.
Absolutely.
Societies have a right to do that.
Your government doesn't.
And the House, no, they have
government
a right.
Doesn't.
They have a right to censor each other because it is they're trying to bring civility back to that. There's things that they're trying to do that with the president. I get it. That was wrong. But that does not rival what he said, does not compare to from the river to the sea, which is a direct threat to the existence of a people. Wipe them out is what that means. And anybody who spins that any other way is either an apologist for Hamas or so befuddled up in their brain they've lost their moral compass. You're on the side of rapists, child killers, abusers of the elderly. 250. You're on that side. Now you want to talk about the history of the Palestinians and why they should be a two-state solution? Talk about that all day. Let's talk about that. But when you try to excuse or say, well, it was really bad what they did to those people October 7th and those little children, but look what the Palestinians have been through. You've lost it. You have to condemn with no qualifier. And if it would have happened with the Jews going over there doing the same thing in Gaza, if it would have been the shoe on the other foot, I promise you I'd be saying the same thing about the Israelis.
Censoring a congressman or woman is censorship, and we shouldn't stand for it.
She can say it again.
We shouldn't stand for it.
No, she got censored. So she can do it and keep getting censored.
She did. I don't believe
they won't kick her out.
If I were the House, what the hell do they call it, guy? Speaker. If I were the Speaker of the House, I would have a rule where you can say whatever you want to say. Doesn't matter what it is. Freedom of speech. I would even say inciting bad things is your freedom. Because guess what? If you're going to be that blazing, that flip it, then I hope that video and that audio makes it back to your district so you no longer can represent them. What we've done is we've made Rashida Tlaib now to be a martyr.
No.
And she's going to go back to her district and she's going to say, just like Adam Schiff, when he was censored, they're going to go back and say, look at us. We did this for the cause. Listen, we just went through, during COVID, conservatives went through a time of, extreme, stupid censorship.
Of what?
Okay. Of our voice, our freedom of speech. We went through this censorship in virtually every aspect of social media. Granted, they're private companies. But we know what it feels like. I don't like doing it to someone else just because we disagree with their content. If the content literally says, let's go kill people right now that are in between here and here, that's entirely different. Just saying from the river to the sea, I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it.
People.
But they're not saying let's go kill people.
I tell you, I feel so sorry for the Jewish people because
I do too, Alan.
These are the kind of arguments that were made during Hitler's regime, but when he was going to kill all the Jews there. Oh, that doesn't mean he's blaming some economic issues on the Jews. He's blaming a few skirmishes on the Jews when they had nothing to do with it. They just know how to prosper. They didn't go up and do like the mafia, shake people down. That was not the Jewish way. They went into neighborhoods, got into business, especially in the garment district here in New York when they first got here.
Yeah, they did.
They learned how to prosper in the garment district.
They worked their butt off.
They worked their butt off. They stayed together. They believe in strong family and a work ethic and educating your kids and not hating America, loving America, because the history says it was America who saved them. Instead of 6.2 million dead Jews, there could be 20, 30. It may not even be one on the face of the earth because they really had no friends in Europe. Europe sat right next door and watched that happen. They knew what was happening. The New York Times knew what was happening. And here we are it started with rationalizing and justifying the unjustifiable, an unwarranted massacre of people to be even condoned or under the premise of any kind of free speech thing is something. I don't blame the Jews. They feel like they have no friend in the world. And so they're worried about, hey, the world's going to turn against them. This is the kind of stuff they're rationalizing truly that led up to the Holocaust. You got a whole nation basically blaming the Jews for the problems inside their country. Not the Weimar Republic, the most liberal, you couldn't even put away a convict, kill 10, 15 people. It was so liberal. The Supreme Court was so corrupt. They couldn't provide safety for their people. And Hitler came on and said, hey, I'm going to provide safety, but I need somebody to blame. Oh, Jews. He needed a villain. And that's what we're doing now. It's happening all over again. And you can't blame. And I tell you, when you see Naftali Bennett, former prime minister, who used to be a Netanyahu protege, but then departed from Netanyahu.
Oh, yeah.
And you have these because there's a lot of liberals over in Israel.
Oh,
they are fully united on saying, you got to go take care of Hamas. I mean, this is something that they're not. Do you expect them to sit back and allow another Holocaust to happen like this? And it begins with anything less than a total condemnation of what on October 7th. From the river to the sea crap, don't try to justify that means some nuanced little thing about free Palestine that I really don't mean exact harm on any Jews. Don't give me that. Don't give me that. But the young people, especially the Ivy League, they used to be, there's being exposed here. The Ivy League, the academic elite who up to this point purported to be the protector of Jews and blacks have turned out, we're the worst racist and anti-Semites in mass congregated in one place than any place in the United States. They used to tell you it's that toothless old white Christian dude up in the hills of Tennessee that hates Jews and black people. You got to watch. I'll just give them a name, MAGA. Those are the ones that hate Jews and hate blacks.
Yeah.
And when's the last time you've seen a group of that profile attack any place or go to the Capitol saying death to the Jews? They didn't do that on January 6th. There was not one racial comment about Jews or blacks on January 6th. I'm not excusing January 6th, but it was not about racism and anti-Semitism. These rallies all over the country and led by the Ivy League and their great, enlightenment of the world and who's worth what have said, Jews and black people just aren't worth as much as us enlightened folks. If not, you wouldn't have 31 organizations at Harvard supporting Hamas. And you have this guy at Cornell threatening to kill people, Jews, on site. And you have people supporting them. Thousands of people, around the world chanting river to the sea, meaning kill a Jew.
But that's not what they're outright. Listen, Alan, I am a radical free speech supporter, even when the speech is something that I adamantly disagree with. That's my viewpoint, and I think that's what everyone's viewpoint should be.
Well,
because I'm smart.
Well, you didn't graduate from the Ivy League.
And I didn't graduate from the Ivy League.
You graduated from a high-level institution that still values critical thinking.
Yeah, last time I checked. They can't
play football too good.
Yeah, we cannot play football.
But you get a good education. The Spartans get a good education.
Yeah. When I say the Spartans are coming, no one means that as a threat. That's for damn sure.
All right. Answer me this here.
All right.
Okay.
Yes.
We just got how many minutes? We didn't even break. Jeremy tried to tell me to break.
Yeah, that's all right. It's better when we don't break.
Well, I got a lot of Hamas notes.
You got a lot of notes.
Yes, I do. Here. Okay.
Taking a final or what?
Well, let's talk about
Hamasophobia.
Yes.
You come up with that word? I've never heard it. Hamasophobia.
Well, you heard Karine Jean-Pierre saying because of October 7th, all the Muslims need to watch out for. Watch out for the Jewish mobs coming after you, saying, death to Muhammad. You got to watch out for them. They're everywhere. They're going to congregate in thousands all around the world to attack Muslims. You know why they? Well, they're not going to do that. Number one, they're not that. Jewish people aren't of that nature. And number two, they don't rally because they know they'll be killed.
Yeah.
If they express their right to free speech. But they're talking about Karine Jean-Pierre that the biggest threat, the biggest thing they have to watch out for is Islamophobia.
Yeah.
Because of this. And I'd say this. There's a phobia that should come out of this, and I call it Hamasophobia. And if you don't got it, you better get it. You better find some way to get Hamasophobia, because it is probably that ideology, the biggest threat to this country's civility. They start blowing up stuff left and right, which they will. You buy the fact that a MAGA supporter, is more of a threat, a terrorist threat, than Hamas supporters? How would you like to, which party would you rather belong to? The one whose radical wing supports MAGA, or your radical wing that supports Hamas? Because they both have a radical wing. I mean, they have the radical. And I don't put MAGA in that corner. I think MAGA as a term has been twisted and mutated. Make America Great Again. Come on, but they've tried to denigrate that name to where it's political poison. But say you're radical right, which
would you classify me as radical right?
No.
Okay.
No, you're conservative. You're an old throwback conservative, which is the only hope this country has. But who would you rather have? Of course, the answer is just say it. You'd rather have the one that supports MAGA. If you think they're both two evils, that is clearly the lesser of the two evils.
Yeah.
And that's what you're left with. And you Democrats need to make a decision. Do you want to stay in that party? You want to continue to support the radical wing, left part of your party that seeks the total destruction of Israel?
Alan, what we need is we need radical education. We need individuals to understand the region. We need the individuals to understand who Hamas is, who the Palestinian people are, who the Israelis are, who the Jews are, who the Jordans are, who the Syrians are, who the Egyptians are. They need to understand the entire region, because let me tell you, there is such an uneducated element of this. And it goes back to my from the river to the sea, Palestine shall be free. You go around and you ask any American college student, do you want the Palestinians to be free? And they're thinking in their mind, well, yeah, everybody deserves to be free because they're Americans. They live in a free world. They live in a free society.
And what are you going to tell them?
They don't understand.
What are you going to tell them?
I'm going to tell them.
What does that mean to you?
I'm going to tell them, listen, the freedom that you enjoy as an American does not translate into that type of freedom for the Palestinians. What are you going to tell them
that means, though, that phrase, when it's chanted all over, from the river to the sea? What would you tell that young person that you think that means, and what they should see what that means? You're trying to give them the correct definition of it. What is what are you going to tell them that these protesters are trying to say?
I'm going to tell them that type of freedom is not the freedom that they believe that they have in the United States. That is not that doesn't equate to the freedom. That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say that freedom isn't that type of freedom.
What are you going to tell them that the protesters are trying to say? Those people that are those mobs.
They're trying to say
by saying a river to the sea. What are they
trying Israel should not exist, and that Palestinians should own the land of Israel, and that type of freedom is still going to subject women to disproportionate discriminatory treatment, and it's not going to be freedom as they experience it in the United States. That's what I tell them.
All right,
that's what I tell them.
Good.
Because let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. What if you could ask? And this is probably what Rashida Tlaib believes. Do I think Rashida Tlaib? And I know I'm going to get a lot of hatred on Facebook, on social media. Do I think that Rashida Tlaib wants every Jew and Israeli killed? No. I do believe that she wants every Israeli and Jew out of that land. She doesn't care where they go. She just doesn't want them there.
So you don't think she would personally kill them, but she wouldn't care if they did die. You think if she could have a free Palestine, and
I don't know,
deal was that every Jew had to die, she would not take that deal?
I don't know her heart, and I think I know where she'd fall on that. But I honestly believe, and this is the way they'll play it, We don't want the Jews or the Israelis to die there. We just don't want them there. So they just need to move, okay? They need to move out of the region, and they need to give that land over to the Palestinians.
Like a very true good Klansman. We don't want those blacks in this area.
No,
we don't want the black people in our neighborhoods. There goes the neighborhood.
So
get them out by any means necessary. Oh, there's a good tree. Why don't we lynch a few over there on that tree? Why don't we burn a few at the stake
Alan,
there? That is Klan talk, baby.
I genuinely,
That's Klan talk. That's Klananese.
I know, but I'm hoping. I'm hoping
we don't want to kill them. We just don't want them there.
Alan, I'm hoping that that's not in her heart, but that's.
Well, I hope I'll wake up and I won't be 71. I hope I'll be 35. But I bet I wake up at 71 plus one day.
Aren't you glad you convinced me in this whole hour?
You know I love you.
No,
brother.
I do.
Now, one thing it's not hard to understand. The history of that region, hard to understand. One thing it's not hard to understand is all of that video of those dead kids, those hostages. That is not hard to understand at all. We know exactly what that is. And that is terrorism like we've never seen video before. That's what that is. And it has to be condemned totally and completely. This is Alan Autry, No Retreat, with my good buddy Guillermo Moreno. And we're going to be back again on Friday because we love each other.
Yeah.
We work through our disagreements. Don't ever talk to me again.
Get the bleep button out, because wait till we go off air. There's going to be a lot of...
Hey, guess do your best. Let God do the rest. Things will turn out all right. God bless you all. Bye-bye.